Hi, in this video I'm going to be looking at how to paint the door frame. So we're going to be looking at which order to paint the frame and also what parts of the frame you paint with this side of the door and what part of the frames you paint when you're painting that side of the door. I've already given it a light rub down with some of this fine abrasive here, a 240 grade aluminium oxide paper, so that the paint will have a good key, bit of stick well to the surface. And I've also then used my dusting brush to dust it all down, to get all the dust off, and also make sure that you dust off the top of the frame there. If not, when you're painting it, it will drag dust from there onto the face of the architrave there. And what I've also done is I've taken the little plate off that sits on the door frame there. When you've taken it off, always make sure you get all the dust out of the hole there so that you don't pick it up on your paintbrush and put it all over the frame. Okay, so I'm ready to start painting now. What I've done is I've mixed up a very light pink undercoat so that you'll be able to see where I'm going. It's going to look a bit silly with the colour, but you'll be able to see where I'm going better with the pink. And what I've also done is I've put some old wallpaper on the floor to protect the floor, and around the bottom of each frame I've put some masking tape as well so I don't get any paint onto the carpet. So the first parts of the frame I normally paint is these little edges here on both sides of the door frame. The reason for that is if you do them last, when you're painting down through here, the brush comes around onto the front of it and leaves a fat edge on the front of the architrave. So I always do these two little edges before I do anything else. I'm using a 1.5 inch brush to do this. You could use an inch brush as well, but I wouldn't recommend using anything bigger than this, or you're going to put in far too much paint and that can run down these grooves and you can end up with a pool of it at the bottom of the frame. So, put a little bit of paint on my brush, and about 5 ml of paint on the brush. Tilt my hand back a little bit so I can see where I'm applying the paint. Go slightly onto the frame like that. Put it down, get a nice straight line, a little wiggle to get in there. Just like that. A bit more paint. And squeeze and pull it down like that. A bit more paint. I'm going to do the bottom part. So I sort of tilt my hand around like that when I'm doing it, so I can see where the bristles are on the brush. So this last bit down here now. Right, there we are. So that's that edge done. Now you can probably see where it's come around onto the front of the architrave there. So you can either smudge it a bit with your brush or get a bit of cloth and just wipe down through like that. So you just get rid of that build up of paint on the front of that architrave. Like that. So I'm going to do exactly the same now on this side of the door frame, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so that's both sides of the frame done. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is the top part of the frame, and that's from that front edge there to the top there, but not under there. So just from that front edge to there. So about centimetre of paint at most on my brush at this point. Go under there like that. Give it a little wiggle to get in that corner, like that. I'm going to go from this one and come back. Little wiggle. Like that. Same again, not too much paint on my brush. I'm just laying it off a bit, backwards and forwards, to get the paint even. Now I'm going to do this top piece here. And just do it that sort of angle, don't come too far on here at this stage. Be careful not to touch the wall there as you come along. I'm quite tall here, so I can reach over to get to that part, because I'm about 5'10". So if you're a bit shorter than me, you might need to use a little stool to stand on. You might find it a bit easier. Okay. Okay, so that's that top part of the frame done. Now I'm going to be doing down through here. I'm going to be doing the same point up to that edge there, round to here. So same principle again, not too much paint on my brush. Give it a little squeeze and a little wiggle to get up into there. Obviously, if you're going to get paint coming round onto here, particularly if it's a different colour, once you've done it, you just give it a wipe off with a cloth, just to get the paint off. Lay that bit off now. Gently with the brush, don't press too hard. I'm going to do the front bit of the architrave. I'm going to lay this section off, get it smooth, like that. So now I've done that top part, now I'm going to do the bottom half of the frame now. Give a little stabbing motion in there just to get in the little grooves of that recess where the plate goes. And just scoop any paint out so you don't get any running down out that area. And when I do the bottom bit, I'll change my grip and I hold the brush like that, so I can see where I'm going better. A little wiggle on the bottom. Fortunately, I've got the masking tape there just to protect the carpet. Just lay it off. Like that. Now I've got to do that front bit. The reason why I've done it in two halves like that is so that you don't get a dry edge where the paint's drying and you end up with a ridge. So that's why I've done it in two goes like that. Start with the bottom bit now. I'm just going to lay the section off with the brush. A bit smooth. Like that. And like I've said on some of my other videos, when you come down, that leaves a little mark there. So always make sure you go back up higher when you come down. That gets rid of that mark you leave when you come down with the brush. Okay, so that's that section of the frame done. Don't do that piece there because that comes in with the other side of the door frame that we'll be having a look in a minute. So I just got to do the other side of the architrave down through there. Right, so all that's left to do now is this piece of architrave down through here. I've used a bit of this masking tape to go over the two hinges so I don't get paint all over them. And when you do this last bit of architrave here, have the door slightly open so that you get the gap down through there so you're less likely to get your paint on your door. So don't have it shut when you're doing this last part of the frame here. Okay, so here we go again. Small amount of paint on the brush. And give it a little wiggle to get up in there. Pull it down and a little wiggle to get in above the hinge there. Like that. That's that done. Just lay it off. There's a tiny little edge there in front of the hinge, so be very careful. Just use the front part of the bristles so you don't get it over the hinge. Just like that. Little wiggle, get it up underneath that part of the hinge there, then pull it down. Like that. Get off gently with the brush, like that. Just the bottom bit now. Back to the little wiggle to get it down top of that hinge and pull it up. Once again, I've changed the grip on how I'm holding the brush. A little wiggle under there. And that. These bottom bits, to give it a little wiggle and pull it upwards like that. You don't want too much paint on the bottom, where the tape is. There we go. Okay. So that seems to be okay. So that's what we paint. We're painting this side of the door frame. So we're going to have a look at the parts we paint when we're doing the other side of the door. Okay, so when you're painting the other side of the same door frame, like out here in the corridor, on these two parts of the door frame, you paint up to that edge there. So the end of the door will stop just to there. But on this side of the door frame, you also include that back edge there. So that when you stand back to look at the door frame, it all looks white, including that back edge. Because if you painted that with the pink, you'd have a horrible pink line going all the way down through there. So I hope that makes sense. Another thing to bear in mind when you're painting door frames and corridors, you might have a staircase going up. So when people are coming down for breakfast in the morning, they can see the top of the door frame. So in that situation, it's good practice to paint the top of the door frame so it all looks neat and tidy. So there we are. So I hope you found this video useful. And if you have, why not subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date with all the latest videos.